Hello. Today is 1st of September actually, and day 31st of this experiment, but actually, maybe the 28th or 29th, because, I jumped a couple of days, even though today's, like, in the title probably I will write on the 31st out of 30, because yes, we've already changed months, but I'm gonna keep going a little bit, maybe 2-3 days more, and then I'll rethink the strategy or the frequency of these videos, but I'm gonna keep creating this kind of content a bit more spontaneous and a bit more in flow, because I think it is sustainable for me to create this way. Probably not every day, but I will be doing this kind of style so that I can be consistent, because all the editing, all the scripting and all of the things, all the ideas I want to create, my mind goes, really fast with different ideas. If I get so much time stuck in one video, it's I feel like my energy or my creativity goes down. So I have loads of ideas coming up, and it's like a quick writing post or a quick video in flow is how I think I work best. Of course, if I'm doing a big project like TEDx talk or writing a book, which is one of my projects as well, I'm gonna take more time, of course. But when I mean like that, I mean in a creative session, or in a creative topic. For example, when writing a book would be something like that. If I'm talking about a concept or not even a chapter, like an idea, a thought, maybe a page, a couple of pages. I don't want to be, immersed in that until it gets perfect, because for me, I'm this kind of person that is more about a mind map. I have loads of ideas, I need to put them on the table, but then afterwards, when I get clear on stuff that I need to do, I do it very, very quickly. I don't know if you can relate. Some people, they are more structured when it comes to writing. Even for engineering, for me, they are more structured when it comes to writing a report or some kind of, technical document, because it seems like they need to be this way, like headings, and then, okay, first we put the headings, then we write what is it's gonna be included in its heading, kind of more strategy-minded in a way. And for me, it's also strategy, but with a more divergent thinking, intuitive approach. So for me, it's I need to know a lot about the topic. I need to know the topic from all angles, and then I'll create kind of an ideas page in my notebook with mind map, wherever thoughts, free writing, random, and then after that I'll reorganize my thoughts and I organize the structure, and it will make sense as I go. And sometimes it's very, very difficult to give visibility to other people how you are progressing with a topic like this. Or even at university, it happened the same for me. When I go to an exam, I wouldn't go very structured, module by module or things like that. Of course, sometimes yes, in a study session I would focus on one concept, but for me it's less about the structure of the modules and more about the interconnectedness of the topics. And then once I understand the bigger picture, I zoom in then into writing, because I'm much more focused after seeing the bigger picture and all the interconnectedness, all the angles. So that's why for other people I can be a bit chaotic or messy, or maybe they cannot, or it's difficult to trust me at first because I cannot provide clarity at first. But then when you see, me doing an exam or me submitting a report, even at work, engineering wise, it's okay, she knows what she's doing. But I need a little bit of a different approach when it comes to, being mentor, being, person who I report, because I think differently, and I'm sure other people think the same way. That's why it's a bit of system thinking, divergent thinking, a bit of creative approach, but it's still it's very logical as well then afterwards, you know, the report is technical report, mine, but the beginning and middle stages, and probably till longer than people would expect, I am quite chaotic in the way I would write it, or I am quite, I wouldn't say chaotic, but I would say like, yeah, chaotic like the universe, you know, in this sense. Like everything is interconnected, everything could be in every section. You know, this concept relate to this other concept that is who knows in which page, or, you know, I see it all like very bigger picture, and it's the same way I used to study at university. It's like, how is the exam going? And I couldn't tell you really until the very last days, or the last day, and obviously it was a little bit of like, you know, this perfectionism pressure to start studying, but at the same time, honestly, if I studied from the beginning, I'm one of these people that I'm very curious, you know, so I would study, you know, what we've done in class, for example, but then I would jump to other topics. I would research. I remember at school I would research in YouTube for, you know, example of what I was studying at the school, in the class, and then from that example I would refer to another even subject, you know, maths, and then philosophy, and then from philosophy something in, you know, Spanish or English, like language module. So it's just, I am this way really in all areas. So there is a thing, there is a saying that it says, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So I really came I really got to the realization that, you know, I work this way and it works for me, you know, it's always worked. It's like, okay, at first, as it is not very, you know, structured, and I cannot give you like A, then B, then C, you know, all the storyline at first, like a skeleton, as I cannot give this very easily, even in YouTube videos, say like, okay, how is the script going? It's like, maybe I don't have a script, maybe I have good points, but then I'm gonna go in flow differently. I only have, you know, some thoughts, or maybe in these videos I don't even have a thought prior to start recording, and then I just flow. So the way I work is, you know, it's a bit like difficult to trust at first, because you don't see what's going on, but it's like, you know, have faith, you know, in this kind of people. And then of course you deliver, or of course they notice patterns, or they notice, you know, I'm not gonna say results, but results, of course, is a thing, like some marks, some scores, you know, deliverables at work, you know, these videos, the consistency, whatever, you see things, but then how I go about it, or how I structure my day is a different story, because yeah, even for people who are close to me, or best friends, partners, family, you know, you tell them you have an idea, but you don't tell them, you know, the steps to be able to accomplish this idea, and they get like lost, or they don't trust it, because, you know, they don't see the path towards that goal. But for me it's more about like certainty, that I know I will figure it out. That's kind of one of my mantras. I know I'll figure it out. Let's see how, but I know I will. And that keeps me like, obviously the curiosity, being curious, and you know, very curious person helps me with that. So these two things, like having the certainty that no matter what or how, I will figure it out, and then also this curious mindset that allows me to, you know, go across different disciplines and ask myself questions, and, you know, create from different angles, or write from different angles, not just how standard, not just the standard way, but outside of the box at the same time. So I think all of these things, and the fact that, you know, when you are curious at the same time, you are creative, you are a fast learner. So all of these things at the beginning, they don't have like proof for other people. So I just wanted to make this video. Now that I'm talking, I realized like, yeah, I needed to battle a lot with this, you know, imposter syndrome. But imposter syndrome, you know, is just you're a beginner. Of course, you are not sure how it's gonna be, how you're gonna be able to do the task. But it's not only imposter syndrome from me, for like that I did create it myself. It's more about like, you know, the judgments or the opinions of other people, because they don't, you know, they don't believe it, because they cannot see the steps, as I was saying. So they may say something like, I don't think it's very feasible, or you haven't started studying, you definitely gonna fail. So all these opinions, you need to shut down or switch off this noise, whatever. You need to turn off the volume of this noise, because it's like you need to trust yourself that you have maybe a different way of thinking, a different way of working, a different way of creating. And the people who are saying to you these things, you know, don't make these opinions or these statements like blur your sense of self. Of course, you're gonna have some imposter syndrome, but imposter syndrome is just being the beginner, and it's amazing to be open to listen to mentors and to learn. But there is another point in this sense. So, as I was saying, that is the imposter syndrome that gets exacerbated by people who cannot see, cannot see the path. So they don't really believe in the vision. But I came to the realization that I need to trust me first. So it's like, I trust myself now. I know how I work. I know it works for me. So whoever says to me, maybe you started late, you're not gonna get the deadline or whatever, it's like, yes. And I know internally how it's gonna get done, because I know myself and how I work. So this is maybe a message for people who get misunderstood, because the logical or the more strategic way would be like showing a storyline or a skeleton of what you are gonna be writing, business-wise, strategy-wise. But sometimes you just need to do nothing, in a sense of being creative, like explore, free writing, write some thoughts, some mind mapping, and then maybe you get into flow and you write so quickly that you get people very, very surprised. But you need to probably do some trial and errors, or some of these have been lessons in my life. I then came to this realization or this conclusion, at 20. I'm now 30, and I realized throughout all my 20s that, it works. It works for me. So I'm just gonna be confident about it. And whoever, doesn't trust at first, just give me a leap of faith and I'll show you. I think it was a good chat, guys. Let's see how I title this video, because it's been so spontaneous, but maybe it's a bit for some of you. So see you tomorrow. See what